We are continuing in Ezekiel 8 from verse 7 to 14. Before we continue, let us pray. We are thankful to thee, dear Lord, for this evening that we could return to your study. Again, we ask for divine enlightenment. We may be able to see, be able to understand your words so that we can be a transformed people. This we pray in Jesus' name. Amen. In Ezekiel 8, verse 7, it says, "And he brought me to the door of the court. Then I looked, and behold, a hole in the wall. Then said he unto me, Son of man, dig now in the wall. And when I had digged in the wall, behold, a door. And he said unto me, Go in, and behold the wicked abomination that they do there. So I went in and saw, and behold, every form of creeping things, and abominable beasts, and all the idols of the house of Israel, portrayed upon the walls round about. And there stood before them 70 men of the ancients of the house of Israel, and in his hand, and in the midst of them, there stood Jezaniah the son of Shaphan, with every man his censer in his hand, and a thick cloud of smoke. A thick cloud of incense went up. Then said he unto me, Son of man, hast thou seen this? What the ancients of the house of Israel do in the dark? Every man in the chamber of his imagery. For they say, The Lord seeth us not. The Lord hath forsaken the earth. He said also unto me, Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abomination that they do. Then he brought me to the door of the gate of the Lord's house, which was towards the north, and behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. We will not be able to explain everything in these few verses here. But one thing for sure, what the worship, what they were doing here was not in accordance with God's order. We saw that they were worshiping all the idols of Israel. They had idols like Milcom, Chemosh, Ashtoreth, Molech. These were the gods of the heathens in the land of Israel. But in Ezekiel day, while he was in captivity, they were still charged of worshiping these idols. And like I said before, Ezekiel never carried his message to the 12 tribes. So it is applicable to the church today. And we are called upon to sigh and cry for the abomination that we will receive this year. So as we go along in this study, we will see how these things apply to us today. So obviously, we read earlier that they were careful to hide these abominations. So we will look at all the hidden abominations. If we can see them, that's it. All right. One of them, I would say, was taking 11 brethren to the court of law under the patent right of the name Seventh-day Adventist. That took place in 1988 on the 13th of the fifth month. The certificate was filed in the court of appeal. What does the scripture say about that? And this is only one case here. There were many cases of people that brethren went to the law against brethren. In 1 Corinthians we are told, chapter 6, verse 1. Dare any of you having a matter against another go to law before the unjust and not before the saints? Do you not know that the saints shall judge the world? And if the world shall be judged by you, are ye unworthy to judge the smallest matters? Ye know not that ye shall judge angels? How much more things that pertain to this life? If then you have judgment of things pertaining to this life, set them to judge who are least esteemed in the church. I speak to your shame. If is it so that there is not a wise man among you? No, not one, that ye shall be able to judge between his brethren? But brother goeth to law with brother, and that before the unbelievers. Now therefore there is utterly a fault among you, because you go to law one with another. Why do you not rather take wrong? Why do you not rather suffer yourself to be defrauded? Nay, ye do wrong, and defraud that your brethren. Another abomination is the changing of the logo. And it was made public via the internet at 23:45 on the 8th of December 2008. Hear what the Spirit of Prophecy have to say about the logo we had before. I have had precious opportunity to obtain an experience. I have had an experience in the first, second, and third angel message. The angels are represented as flying in the midst of heaven, proclaiming to the world a message of warning and having a direct bearing upon the people living in the last days of this earth history. No one hears the voice of these angels, for they are a symbol to represent the people of God who are working in harmony with the universe of heaven. Men and women enlightened by the Spirit of God and sanctified through the truth proclaim the three angels' message in their order. That is from Life Sketches, page 429. So we change the logo from the three angels to a logo which many others have. Now, why would we want to change the logo? Seeing that this logo represents three angels flying in heaven, are people with a heaven-sent message to go into all the world. This is what the three angels flying in the midst of heaven represent. And to take the present logo, here what it says here, this is the document that was on the internet giving an explanation of what the logo represents. Under description here, it says, this is a logo owned by the Seventh-day Adventist Church for Stanley. Now, who is Stanley? What does that mean? Now, Stanley, the word Stanley, with the Freemasons, it carries the number 33. And we know that 33 is a very important number to the Freemasons. So I'm yet to understand why this is placed here. Hear it again. This is a logo owned by Seventh-day Adventist Church for Stanley. This line doesn't make sense. And as I said before, if you work out the cipher for this word Stanley through the process that the Freemasons use, you will get number 33. I'm not going into all the details of how to do it. Right. Proportion use. The entire logo is used to convey the meaning intended and avoid tarnishing or misrepresenting the intended image. So it went on to say of the size and the resolution and so forth of the logo. Under purpose of use, the image is placed in the info box at the top of the article discussing Stanley again. A subject of public interest. The significance of the logo is to help the reader identify the organization. So they couldn't recognize the organization under the three angels. Assure the reader that they have reached the right article containing critical commentary about the organization and illustrate the organization intended branding message in a way that words alone could not convey. Right. So we know that is what a symbol is for. To convey a message that words alone could not really convey. So the three angels that represent are people with a heaven-sent message. That is what that was trying to convey. This one also has a message to convey. So we go now to the date. Why we use this date? Why we choose a particular time? Right? Because it takes pains to put everything in detail on the internet. So you have current, this will be the time, 23:45. 8 December 2008. The number 8 Right. So later on, I will deal with why we use that particular time, the date, the time, and the hour. But first, I want to deal with the meaning here of each of the symbols. So I'm on page 5, which is the corporate identity for the Seventh-day Adventist Church reflects our deep and abiding belief in Jesus Christ as the center of our lives and our faith. It is our hope that this graphic representation of who we are will be used around the world as a familiar symbol of our church and its values. Going to the logo and its meaning. The logo reflects the core value of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Its foundation is the Bible, the Word of God shown open because its messages should be read and put into practice. Central to that biblical message is the cross, which is also a central feature of the logo. Above the cross and the open Bible is a burning flame that represents the Holy Spirit, the messenger of truth. Going a little lower to explain the logo in more detail, on the Seventh-day Adventist Church logo, the second coming. The lines at the top of the design suggest upward momentum, symbolizing the resurrection and ascension to heaven at Christ's second coming, the ultimate focus of our faith. The flame. This is the shape formed by three lines, encircling an implied sphere or a circle. The lines represent the three angels of Revelation 14, encircling the globe, and our commission to take the gospel to the entire world. The overall shape forms a flame symbolic of the Holy Spirit. The cross. The symbol of the cross represents the gospel of salvation. It is positioned in the center of the design to emphasize Christ's sacrifice, which is the central theme of the Adventist faith. The open Bible. The Bible forms the base of the design and represents the biblical foundation of our belief. It is portrayed in a fully open position, suggesting a full acceptance of God's word. So it is our hope and prayer that through this logo is a very simple picture of the foundation of the Adventist belief and values. It may be a recognizable symbol of the Adventist message to the world. Now, there are other people that use all these symbols as, as their logo. As a flame, they use the cross, they use the open Bible. Only Seventh-day Adventists had a logo of three angels. But yet, for some reason, somebody sees fit to change this logo and bring to front a logo that a lot of people is already using. What is the point? All right. To the Luciferians, they use an open Bible. They say in the masonry and upon the altar of every masonry lodge, supporting the square compass, lies the Holy Bible. The old familiar book, so beloved by so many generations, is in our volume of sacred law and the great light in masonry. The Bible opens when the lodge opens. It closes when the lodge closes. No lodge can contract its own business, much less initiate candidates into its mysteries, unless the book of the Holy Law lies open upon its altar. Thus, the book of the will of God rules the lodge in its labor, as the sun rules the day, making it work, making its work a worship. So this is the Freemason philosophy for using an open Bible. Like I said before, we simply had three angels, but we complicate the matter now by bringing in symbols that the satanic cults use. Notwithstanding, they use the Bible. We go to the next symbol. Now, before I do that, they have a constitution, or they have a creed, as it were, whereby every Mason ought not only to honor the Bible as a great light of the craft, he ought to read it, live it, love it, lay its truth to heart, and learn what it means to be a man. This is missionary talking. Eh? There is something in the old book which it gets into a man, makes him both gentle and strong, faithful and free, obedient and tolerant, abiding to his knowledge virtue, patience, temperance, self-control, brotherly love, and pity. Imagine this is what the missionaries are saying of the Bible, which in effect, it will do that to the Christian, but the masonry is satanic worship. The Bible is as high as the sky and as deep as the grave. Its two great characters are God and the soul, and the story of their romance. This is missionary talking, not mine. It is the most human of books, telling us the half forgotten secrets of its own, or of its own heart, all sins, all sorrow, all doubt, all hope. It is most divine of books, telling us that God has made us for himself and that our hearts will be restless and lonely until we learn to rest in him, whose will is our peace. And then they continue further. Hear what they say. The scripture that we normally use as well. He showed thee, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of thee, but to do justly, to love mercy, to walk humbly with thy God. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy strength, and with all thy mind, and thy neighbor as thyself. Therefore, all things whatsoever you will do that men should do unto you, do ye even so to them. For this is the law of the prophets. Pure and undefiled religion before God, and the Father is this. Sorry, let me read that part again. Pure and undefiled religion before God, and the Father is this: to visit the fatherless, the widows in their affliction, and the widows in their affliction, and to keep himself unspotted from the world. But missionary is of the world, and this is what they are saying. Right. So again, I'm saying we remove the three angels and have placed instead a symbol that missionary use for their own purpose. You can see here, this is our old symbol. Three angels flying in the midst of heaven. And to the right, to your left, will be the present logo. Why we made that change? Down below in the picture here, you will also see this logo belongs to a next group of people. If you look carefully, the logo is assembled in a triangular form, but it is not mentioned in the details here of the logo. So that part is hidden. There are two things hidden in the logo. The circle, but it is said that it is inferred, and the triangle wasn't mentioned. But these two parts of the logo is the most important part of Freemason. But it is here inferred, hidden in plain sight. The logo that we use at present, there is a group or a satanic cult that use that logo as well. The Gotia, it's called a Gotia or something like that. So they use the triangle with a circle in the midst to invoke 72 demons. Now, why we have this logo again? I need someone to explain that. What about the pyramid? What about the triangle? It's saying that the combination of the all-seeing eye floating in a popular, sorry, let me get that right. Yeah, the symbol of the all-seeing eye floating above the triangle, that's a popular symbol for the Illuminati. The capstone over the 13 steps, the unfinished pyramid, is the most yeah. Oh, but let me get this. All right, I'll leave this part out. There's no need to talk about that. But this pyramid, according to the Illuminati, is 13 steps to the eye. You are climbing your Jacob's ladder, as it would, to reach to the height that man could reach. That's why they add 6, which is the number of man, because according to the scriptures, God made man in 6 days. So they assign 6 to man, and 7 as perfection. So you're climbing your Jacob's ladder that you reach to the top. And once you reach that, you are of the 33 degree in that satanic order. So remember the name, the logo that we have was for Stanley. Whoever Stanley is, I don't know yet. In our assemblage of symbol, we have the cross. We have two types of crosses. We have the long cross that is used by the Knights Templars, and we also use the short cross that is used, or we must call it the cross of Malta. On the old songbook, you will see that in different places in our literature. So I'm not too sure of the explanation we have here that says the symbol of the cross representing the gospel of salvation is positioned in the center of the design to emphasize Christ's sacrifice, which is the central theme of the Adventist faith. We have the long cross, as I say. The long cross is the Knights Templar, and the short cross is the Maltese cross. I see a lot of ministers wearing robes with crosses on it. Some have the Maltese, some have the Knights Templar cross. The cross was never a Christian symbol. Never. It had always been pagan, and it is still a pagan symbol. We also have the symbol of the flame. Satanists have always used the flaming torch as a symbol of Lucifer. But we are saying here, I don't want to go into all the reading that I don't need to be promoting Luciferian. But I'm just showing that we using the very same symbols that the Luciferian uses, and we throw out the one which was a God sent symbol, which was the three angels flying in the midst of it. They're saying that this is the shape formed by three lines encircling the implied sphere. The lines represent in the three angels of Revelation 14 encircling the globe. And our commission is to take the gospel to the entire world. The overall shape forms a flame symbolic of the Holy Spirit. But notice also that the Luciferian uses the flame to represent Satan. So you're going to watch the combination, the things that we put together to represent the organization today. Right, so I want to go back a little to the triangle. Notice our magazine, the ministry magazine. What do you have here? A triangle, three hands as it were, and the circle in the center. Number three is important in Freemason. Though we also agree that in true Christianity, the number three represents the Trinity. The Satanists also uses it. So we have to be able to see the reason for the change. This church in the back here is a church in Forest Hill. Inside of this church, you notice the church is built in a triangle. Inside of this church, at the altar, you will have the an obelisk, or some call it a phala, straight pole. In that pole, you see a flame burning. And rising out of the flame is the Lord Jesus. I wonder if we understand what that symbol is. Yet we put Christ rising out of the flame, and the flame is coming from the fallout. It's a vulgar symbol. Again, I'm not going into all the details. But whatever we do here, it is not, these are not heaven sent symbols to represent our church. They are all Luciferian symbols. And now remember that you take the combination of these symbols. You have it on your clothes. You have it on your altar, on your books. It is everywhere. So it is clearly showing who is really running the church. It is quite clear that it is the Luciferians that is in charge of the church at the present time. Look what we have next here. Well, these are the different crosses that I was explaining just now. You have the Knights Templars, which is the long cross, which we use, and we have the short cross of Malta. We use that as well. We have, this is a flame, but we have two flames with three sprung. These three lines represent points, which in fact you have, when you put the two together, it's 6 points you really have. There's a reason for the number 6. There's a reason for the number 3. All we had before was 3 angels. We come and we bring in these complicated symbols that other or most Luciferian use. The circle inside of the pyramid is a very high Luciferian symbol. So we use the circle there as well, together with the triangle. Like I said, I'm not going into all the details. All I want to point out is that we have to know whether we are serving God or the next fellow. These are the symbols that we use at the present time. And the next one you see here is the same symbol. The only difference, you have an eye in the center of the circle that is inferred here. And this is a symbol that some witches use to invoke 72 demons. The exact symbol that we have. We got these symbols when we joined the World Evangelical Alliance. The World Evangelical Alliance is an organization with a constitution which you must abide by the constitution. So therefore we throw out our symbols and have taken Luciferian symbols. So we are worshipping at this time under this fellow here. In Ezekiel 8 it says, "Then he said unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Is it a light thing to the house of Judah that they could commit the abomination which they have committed here? For they have filled the land with violence, and have returned to provoke me to anger, and lo, they put the branch to the nose." That putting of the branch to the nose is another Luciferian symbol. It's an insulting gesture. This is the symbol that governs the Adventist Church at this time, all over. We have another symbol. In fact, in my research, it is the only organization in the world that have so many symbols. The last count I made, I may have missed out some, was about 28. Every organization will have one with different little things put into it. But we have 28. The main one in itself have about six symbols, which according to Luciferian The more symbols together makes you stronger. This is their theory. All right. It seems as if I missed a record here. So let me repeat this. Why is the triangle and the circle hidden? It says here, while the triangle is seldom directly called to the mason's attention, there are but a few of the symbols used in masonry which are so frequently placed before the craftsman for him to recognize and to contemplate if he but will. The presentation of this symbol are, however, generally unemphasized and more or less veiled because this is the way of masonry with respect to its first-rate symbols. Example like the cube, the point within the circle, the square, the apron, etc. These are the first-rate symbols. And you have a circle, you have a point within the circle, you have our graduates from our college have three stripes on each arm, which is equal to the same as points. Why three? We are told in Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 10, for pass over the isles of Shittim and see, and send unto Kedar and consider diligently, and see if there be such a thing. Had a nation changed their gods, which are yet no gods? But my people have changed their glory for that which that does not profit. Be astonished, O ye heaven, at this, and be horribly afraid. Be very, very desolate, said the Lord. For my people have committed two evils. They have forsaken the fountain of living waters and have hewn them out cisterns, broken cisterns that can hold no water. What God is saying here? The nation don't change their gods, but his people change their God. We remove a heaven sent logo and have brought in satanic logos. This was a shock to him. He called everyone to see this. This is to our shame. Another thing that I want to bring to light here also is the confederating of the church. Okay, let me change this picture here. Go to the next slide for you. Right. The confederating with the World Evangelical Alliance. The following is a partial list of churches which are documented as being part of the corporation or working with the World Council of Churches or the NCCC, or that will mean National Council of Churches. And some for many years. So we have like the Anglican Assemblies of God. We have Baptists, including Seventh-day Baptists. We have the group they call Brethren, Catholic, including the Old Christian Church of God, Congregational Community, the Disciple, Episcopal, Evangelical, Friends, which is the Quakers, Full Moravian, Orthodox, Bulgarian Christian, Greek or the Greek, Eastern Greek and Hungarian and Romanian, Russian, Syrian, Ukraine, Pentecostal, Presbyterian, Protestant, Reformed, Seventh-day Adventist, United, and Wesleyan. What is saying here? Letters from the National Council of Churches of Christ, January 13, 1963, from Wilbur C. Perry, Associate General Secretary of the American Opinion, January 1982. Page 11, Directory of the Christian Council, published by the World Council of Churches. So this list here was put out by the World Council of Churches. And here we see that we, Seventh-day Adventists, is part of the World Council of Churches. But we keep saying we are not a member. But we send a yearly contribution to this organization. Now, all the different churches which are members or member units in these various branches, in these various branch organizations under the control of the World Council of Churches, are technically members of the WCC itself. But WCC policy states that no individual church is a member of it. Only the various branches. Thus, when any question arises as to whether a particular church is part of the WCC, the leaders of these various churches can technically tell their membership that their church is not a member of the WCC, when in reality it is so connected to the various branches. So while the World Council of Churches is saying there's no individual church connected, but once you connect it to the other branches, you are connected, and you can tell your members, we don't belong to the World Council of Churches. It's an easy scam. But what says the scripture? In 2 Corinthians 6:14, he said, be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship had righteousness with unrighteousness? And what communion had light with darkness? And what concord had Christ with Baal? Or what part had he that believeth with an infidel? And what agreement had the temple of God with idols? For ye are the temple of the living God. And as God has said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. Wherefore, come out from among them and be separate, said the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you, and will be a father unto you, and ye shall be my sons and daughters, said the Lord. So we have disregarded 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 14 to 18. Because we sure have not come out from among them. We have joined with them. And the symbolism shows exactly that. I want to go back a bit now to the dates. Now, this symbolism here, what you see in here is the satanic movements or the Luciferians year. This is their layout of the year. They have divided the year into 4 parts, right? At quarters. So you'll have 4 quarters. And in every section, they have about 8. You have, for the year, they will have 8 main ceremonies for the year. Whereas the quarters is 13 weeks each. Right? So you have 8 ceremonies. But God had set 3 main worship in Israel. The Luciferians have 8 ceremonies, of which most of them you must have a blood sacrifice. The month that we choose to initiate the logo was the 8th of December. That is the month of Yule, where they must have a blood sacrifice on the 21st of that month. The number 8 within Luciferian is the number of sun and sun worshippers. Pay attention, because this did not happen just by chance. Someone have to know what they were doing when they choose this particular time to use this logo to cover all Seventh-day Adventists. So the number 8 is the number for sun and sun worshippers. The Illuminati says that it takes 8 days, 8 years, for Venus to orbit the sun 13 times. Remember, they also use 13 as 13 weeks, 13 steps, 13 everything. We also have our 13. So on the 8th of December, it would have been 13 days to the 21st of December, which is the celebration of Yule, which is a satanic festival unto Satan himself. So the timing was at 23:45, a quarter to 12 in the night. So you put your symbol on the internet at that time, saying to the whole satanic world, I am now a member and I have joined on your sacrificial night. December 21st also, we use the 21st to the 22nd, is the winter solstice. One of the Illuminati human sacrifice night. So they have the year chart out to suit their festival, their worship to Satan. And we choose to align the Church of God in that same vein. And if you notice, God instituted 3 main feasts: Passover, Pentecost, Feast of Tabernacle. These 3 main feasts that God instituted. Passover, Israel had to remember that God passed over Egypt that night. It points also to the sacrifice that Christ had to make. Right? It is an object, a lesson for us today, that there will be a cleansing in the church. It points to the purification of the church, that those who don't apply the blood, as they have to put the blood on the doorpost, we have to apply the blood of Christ to our life. If we fail to do so, we will be cut off from the congregation. You don't hear these things emphasized at all anymore. Just the love of Jesus. And that is what the World Evangelical Alliance, part of the Constitution, that you must not teach any doctrine like the beast, or you must not have any prophet. You must only teach these doctrines like the love of Jesus. Don't say nothing that will talk against any other organization. We have complied with that, right? So we were careful in placing this logo. On the eighth day, which the number 8 is the number for sun and sun worshippers, we choose the time midnight, which is 13 days when you make the coin, become to the 21st of December, whereby you must have a satanic festival or satanic worship that would have a blood sacrifice. In Freemason, they use the number 13 as for rebellion. We have also 13, all right, before I go to that, 13 steps to the eye, ascending, you see a triangle upwards, they would tell you this is the ascent of man, whose number is 6. If you add 7 to 6, you get 13. Man was made on the 6th day, so they say that the number 13 is assigned to man, and 7 is perfection, which also the church uses 7 as perfection, which is right. But Satan, you must remember, has copied, and he have done everything to distort God's truth. So if you have an upright triangle, it will be man ascent to God. If you have an upside down triangle, it's your descent to the underworld. And if you notice, there's a movement within the church called the King, I think it's Kingship International, which is a group of homosexuals. They use their symbol with an upside down triangle. They are members of the Adventist Church. At one time, the conference tried to bring them to court, but they lost that case. I don't know why. But they win the case against 13 quiet church-going members for using the name Seventh-day Adventist Congregational Assembly. This was a small group of brethren worshiping in Hawaii. You take these brethren to court under patent right for the name Seventh-day Adventist. Although the scriptures say do not do that, don't take your brethren to court. That's a matter by itself. So we have as well 13 districts. We have 13 baptismal vows. And also there's another 13 that we use. Yeah. You have 13 Sabbaths, which will be the same as the Illuminati. 13 Sabbaths at 13 weeks each, which at every ending of that period is a blood sacrifice, whereupon around that same period we keep the communion service. But if you follow the scriptural direction that God gave, we are way off. We never on time, never wants to keep it in the month that God assigned it. That's another story by itself. So within the logo, you have the circle, which is sun worship. According to Ezekiel chapter 8, verse 16, he says, "And he brought me into the inner court of the Lord's house, and behold, at the door of the temple of the Lord, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men, 25 men, with their backs towards the temple of the Lord, and their faces towards the east, and they worshiped the sun towards the east." So it is clear according to the scripture that here we are worshippers of the sun. who, by having the symbols, which is sun worshipper symbols, we may feel at this time that we are calling upon Jesus, calling upon the Father. But in fact, by using these satanic symbols, we are calling on the dead Father. Then you will understand why it was what it said earlier, that his glory has departed. The logo is owned by Freemasonry. This is what it is saying. Number 33 is the one of the highest order in Freemasonry. 33rd degree. These are those who know they are worshiping Satan. And to them we went for our logo. Then he said unto me, hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abomination than these. And he brought me to the inner court of the Lord's house, and behold, at the door of the temple of the Lord's house, between the porch and the altar were about 25 men, with their backs towards the temple of the Lord, and their faces towards the east, and they worshipped the sun towards the east. Remember that God had instructed Israel to build their temples in such a way that when the worshippers gather, their back will be against the sun, showing that they are against idolatry. These leaders today is facing the east, worshiping the sun. In verse 17, he says, and he said unto me, hast thou seen this, O son of man? Is it a light thing to the house of Judah that they should commit the abomination which they commit here? For they have filled the land with violence, and have returned to provoke me to anger, and lo, they put the branch to the nose. Now, this part of the verse here, which says, for they have filled the land with violence. We, Seventh-day Adventists, are responsible for all the violence and all the calamity in the world. Why? We were supposed to be the salt of the earth. Salt is supposed to preserve from moral decay. From since 1929, when we caused the deadly wound to be healed under our watch, it plunged the entire world into chaos under the image of the scarlet-colored beast. That's a different subject by itself. So all the calamity and all the violence, because had we complied with the requirements of God, had we complied with sanctuary truth, Christ would have come already. Because according to our writing, it says that Christ will not come until he have a people reflecting his image. But we are not seeing that. In fact, we reflecting Satan's image. With all these symbols we have plastered all over the church. The church I go to there, you have about 4 symbols. One up in the center of the church. One outside on a banner. And one paint on the wall of the church. And on the altar you also have a symbol. Why so many Luciferian symbols surrounding us? So you can see why we are just going wrong in a circle. Year after year. No progress. We no longer understand the sanctuary truth. What we had, we have lost. Now, because of that, hear what God is saying. Therefore, in verse 18, I will also deal in fury. Mine eye shall not spare, neither will I have pity. Though they cry in my ear with a loud voice, yet I will not hear them. These are the words of God in chapter 8 of Ezekiel. These are the abominations that is taking place at the present time in the church of God. And the church must be cleansed. In order for her to go forward, fair as the moon, bright as the sun, and terrible as an army with banners going into all the world, conquering and to conquer. It cannot go with the Lord Christ message while such a condition is in existence. This situation must change. And when we go to the next slide, we will see how this situation will change.